Hey, what's up, guys? It's Bye here. Um, so today I'll be talking about the new leadership commanders, Honda Tadakasu. Right, he just got a release recently. Um, One of the reason I didn't make like a video for him right away because I was not that super excited about him. I honestly don't think he's going to be like a very good investment for a lot of like free to play or low spender player. Right off the bat here, right? I don't recommend you guys to invest on him. But let's go to some of his skill here, right? And we'll talk about like, what I think about him, and I'll show you guys what I think is a good talent tree for him, what I think is a good commander pair for him, and what I think might not be a good commander pair for him. Okay. Um. So let's talk about his first skill here, right? So its first skill, right? The first thing you want to pay attention to its first skill is that the rage requirement. Okay, the rage requirement for his skill is very high, right? 1350, right? As high as a Prince Edward. Okay, so it's gonna take him an actual 2 or 3 seconds, right? At least 2 or 3 seconds, or even 4 seconds to cast a skill compared to other commanders. Um, or when you compare a Honda with XY, right? XY skill cast time is only 850, right? 900 right now. But with the 4 skill here, it's got went down to 850, right? So XY casting range requirement is only 850. And when you're comparing 850 with 1250, like I could cast my XY 2 times, right? Or like I say I could cast my XY skill 3 times when my Honda only able to cast maybe 2 times. Okay. So for every 3 skill casting time for XY, only 2 skill casting time for Honda, I think. Or my XY can even cast skill a little bit, slide a little bit faster as well, depend on the rage, how much rage I can get from other commanders. So first thing first, right? You gotta pay very close attention to the rage requirement here, right? 1350 is very high. His skill direct damage 2500, which is pretty high, right? The high skill damage definitely making up for that very high rage requirement. Um, he also must be first primary commander, right? So he also one of the commanders that you gotta be using him as primary. If you using him as secondary, he's not gonna be that effective, right? Because you are losing on half of the skill damage here, right? The first skill is probably his strongest skill here, like out of all of his skill. So if you plan to get him, right, you definitely want to run leadership pantry. Most likely some sort of mixture if you have to, or like 9% of one of your focus troop type and then 10% of other. Okay. He also have his skill damage also do like a very huge, a huge a fan shape like a half a circle AoE skill damage area, which is pretty nice, right? But again, right, I'm not a huge fan of like a very high range commanders because think about it, right? If you gotta go and attack in the big motherboard here, right? You gonna have to stay back an actual 2 or 3 seconds for you to be able to cast that skill. Which a lot of time you cannot pull that off, I would say, right? Or like if sometimes if you decided to stay for that actual 2 or 3 seconds, you might get swarmed, right? You might, right? So depend on how you play. Uh, like for me, like going for like a low range commander is a lot more beneficial than going for like a high range commander, right? I would rather I would rather they putting him at 1,000 range requirement, but he can deal I would say 2,000 damage, right? That should be good enough for me, right? But for him to get to 2,500 skill damage, his range went up quite a lot, which is I don't know, right? Some people might want to see a big number, but I am in more in terms of like DPS, right? Damage per second, right? So high range doesn't like high skill damage, but with high range requirement doesn't mean you can have a higher DPS compared to some other commander, right? Uh, XY XY first skill right here, right? It definitely have a higher DPS than Honda because he can cast the skill much faster compared to Honda here. So that is the first skill, right? That in my opinion on his first skill. The second skill, right? You getting that attack bonus 10%. when you're attacking on an enemy, right, you getting that additional 30% attack right there. Which is it work most of the time right there, right? The only things that 30% actual attack increase doesn't work is that when you kind of running away and the enemy is swarming on you, and if you keep running away, then that 30% attack increase will not kick in, right? So you will only have that 10% attack bonus only. You gotta actively attacking on somebody for you to have that 30% attack bonus. Okay. So in case you guys wondering what does it mean by you have to attack to gain that 30% attack increase here. That is like when you're running away, you're not attacking on anybody, and the enemy attacking you, you will not get that 30% attack increase. 20% march speed bonus here is very nice for like a leadership commander, right? I don't think there are any leadership commander right now have a march speed increase. I think he's the first one that have a march speed increase here, right? So which is a very very good addition. So pretty solid skill here, right? The second skill is pretty solid. Look, that's the third skill here, right? The third skill is also working on the open field as well. Troop Legacy Commander take 5% reduce damage. An active skill cast will cause the target to suffer damage over time, damage factor 200, and 50% march speed reduction for 2 seconds. So an active skill cast will cause the target to suffer a damage over time, right? Damage factor 200 here, right? So because its skill can only trigger once every 5 seconds, so even though you're running two commander, right? Let's say you have a first commander casting the skill, this skill will kick in and you will be able to deal 200 damage for 2 seconds, right? So that's like a 400 damage right there. But when the second commander skill kick in, it will not work. Because it is still within that cooldown time. You cannot trigger this one here. So you pretty much just getting like a 400 damage increase, like a 400 damage single skill damage here on a single target. The march speed reduction can be pretty good, right? Pretty solid there, can help you chase down the enemy, which is nice. But the 400 damage increase on like a single target is, I mean, like not the best. Definitely not like, like sometimes some of the commander expertise also like increase the damage by 400, right? So this one is pretty much similar here, right? With like a 400 damage skill damage on a single target. It's an okay skill in my opinion, right? Nothing crazy. The fourth skill here, right? Troop basic commander gain 10% troop capacity and deal 1% increase damage for 8% 8% troop loss or 5% when there are 2 or more different unit type, right? So the fourth skill is very very similar with Charm Magnet. Okay, where is Charm Magnet at here, right? Charm Magnet here, fourth skill also the same, right? Very very similar here. For every 10% total unit loss, troop legacy commander gain 1% increased skill damage here, right? Very very similar to him. It's just a slight better, right? So like a slight better, right? The fourth skill for Honda is a better version of Charm Magnet. Fourth skill, right? Definitely better here. And you also get more troop capacity bonus as well. And the first skill of Honda is a better version of Edward, right? Edward also dealing the same amount or less. So Edward also dealing the same amount of skill damage, but it's like single DPS, right? But with Honda, you can deal AoE skill damage, which is like a much better version of Edward here, okay? So like, let's talk about his expertise skill now, okay? So the expertise skill from Honda, right? Troop legacy commander take 30% reduced damage from normal attack on the map. This effect can trigger up to 57 times per hour after leaving the city. Okay, so like every time you move it, march it out. Let's say if the enemy attacking on you, like swarming on you, you can take 30% reduced normal attack damage only, right? So this one doesn't work on like counter attack damage reduction. So when you're attacking on somebody, you do not get that damage reduction there, right? And 57 tam, right? You might think 57 tam can mean a lot. That can be a lot, but I would say when it comes to mass open field firing, right? 57 tam is equivalent of like 6 marches swarming you down for 10 seconds. And I think you might get hit quite often in mass open field as well. So like I would say by the time you get to like 80% HP or something, you probably like that 57 tam is probably gone already. So that is the issue with his expertise skill, right? I don't think his expertise skill is a must-have, but because all of his other skill, right, all of his four of his skill work on the open field as well, so you might as well want to max down on him here, like if you want to invest on him. Um, like overall, right, I think like like, like the only thing that I don't like about him is the rage requirement is too high. And the other thing is that he doesn't provide any kind of like utility nowadays, right? He doesn't provide debuff or buff. And he's not I don't think he's that super tanky. Right, even with the expertise skill, I don't think he's gonna be very, very tanky. Because I would rather having a commander with like a 30% defense permanently, right? Because the defense can also help reduce skill damage as well. As of what looking on him right now, right? He doesn't have any kind of like damage reduction, except for the third skill here, which gave him like a 5% damage reduction here. But other than that, right? If he's taking like a skill damage in mass PvP, he'll suffer a lot. And I just like another thing about him, right? Because you know that like his expertise skill only work for like 57 time, right? So let's say if you see like a Honda with like a yellow HP on the map, his expertise is gone. Okay, if I am seeing a Honda on the map with yellow HP, I know for the fact that his expertise is now long gone, and I can swarm him down, and I'm gonna be very, very good. I'm gonna get very, very good trade off from swarming him. Okay. Uh, so like I am not a big fan of him. Like I'm not a big fan of him here. I don't think he gonna be worth the investment. Right? He's nothing crazy. Right? When I'm seeing a good commander, I know it. But for him, I just don't think he's that great. But I think I do think that he can work well with some of the commanders. So the number one commander I think he can work very, very well with is going to be Tomris. Let's go to Tomris here, right? So Edward and Tomris used to work very well in season 2 and season 3 KvK, right? Tomris with the debuff here can stack up to 15 times, right? And she can work very, very well with commanders that have a very, very high rage requirement. So as I mentioned before, right? Honda is kind of like a slightly better version of Edward here because he can deal AoE skill damage, right? Compared to Edward only do single skill damage. Okay, so Tomris, like Honda and Tomris could work, right? I would definitely, let's say if I am an archer player and I have a Tomris max expertise already, I would invest in Honda to pair Honda with Tomris, right? That is if I have Tomris already, right? Like I wouldn't start investing in both of them at the same time, right? Let's say you're Honda and Tomris can work, so let's try to invest on both of them, right? I don't think it's a good idea. Unless you can buy out the daily chest for Tomris and max her out. So I just don't think it's a good idea to get Honda and Tomris at the same time. But as I mentioned, right, if you have a Tomris expertise already and you're just looking for like a good commander to pair her with, Honda and Tomris can definitely work for you guys. Okay, so that is definitely my number one pick for Honda commander pair. Another one that can work really well, in my opinion, is going to be Honda and YSG. Right. So Honda have very, very high skill damage here. But he also have he could get up to like a very, very high skill damage bonus as well, right? So his active skill can deal very, very high skill damage. He also have potential to get a very, very high skill damage boost as well. And when you pair him with YSG, right? YSG also has that 50% skill damage increase. And he also has that rage engine as well, right? Like rage restore 100 here. So like Troop Level Commander have a 10% chance to gain actual 100 rage for each normal attack. Okay, so that is some kind of like rage mechanic right there for you when you pair Honda with YSG here, so that you can speed up on the casting time. That is one thing. You can also run like Honda with YSG with kind of like 9% archer if you want to, and you gotta be able to utilize on that archer attack bonus here, which 100% for 3 seconds, which is very nice. And I think the most important thing is gonna be the 50% skill damage increase here for both commanders, right? I think the 50% skill damage increase can work, can boost Honda's skill damage by a lot, and Honda's skill damage increase can also work for very well for YSG as well, right? So if you wanna try it pair out, right, Honda and YSG can work, in my opinion. Okay, I just think they have very good synergies there, right? Another one that can work well is, and I've seen a couple of people using them, is gonna be Honda and Hero. Okay, Hero have one of the skills that can help him cast his active skill again, right? So which can work, which can be like a very good synergy with Honda, right? So if you're running Honda Tan Tree, right? If you have this strategic prowess here, right? Whenever you casting an active skill, you gonna get that 20% increase in defense for 2 seconds, right? So with Trajan active skill being cast at random time, right? You might be able to trigger this skill right here. You also might be able to trigger the rejuvenate skill here, right? Once or twice. And you also able to trigger the second, not the second skill, the third skill here, right? You might be able to trigger the third skill here, right? Out of the cycle, out of the skill casting cycle here, and you might be able to deal an additional 400 damage to a target, right? So that was some kind of like synergy right there, and because of the march speed bonus here, right? Like Honda and Hero can be pretty fast as well for infantry player. So I would say those are the three commander pair, right? If you wanna use them, if you wanna use him, I would strongly recommend you guys to use those pair. I was seeing some people recommend that you should be running Honda with Trajan or Honda with Airtoflat. I don't think it's going to be like a good choice. Why? Right? The reason I don't think it's a good choice for running a support commander behind him, especially like someone like Airtoflat or Trajan, is because when you're running a support commanders, you want to cast their either debuff or their buff very frequently, right? So when you're running them with Honda, you cannot utilize on that buff anymore, right? So for example, let's say if you running a Trajan before, right? You can cast your rage buff where Trajan at, right? So if you're running Trajan primary before, you can cast your rage buff once every, I would say, 7 seconds, right? Around one every 7 seconds if you're running Trajan primary. And you can get the buff going, right? The skill damage bonus, the rage restore going on, right? Or if you're running Airtoflat primary before, or like with some other low skill damage, some low rage requirement commanders, you can have that 30% attack and defense and health reduction debuff on the target a lot more often. But now if you go put them on Honda as primary, those support skill will not get cast a lot more often, right? And your other marches will lose out a lot more in terms of like getting the buff, getting the debuff, right? So I don't think, I personally don't think Honda and Trajan or Honda and Airtoflat can do the setup justice, because they just going to, like, I would say, handicap on your buff there, right? Maybe Honda and Trajan market itself can do well on the field, but at the same time, you are handicapping on your other marches there because you are not getting that rage buff as frequently as you should before, or you're not getting that debuff from Airtoflat as fast, or as fast as you should get before, right? But hey, it's up to you guys, right? I'm just telling you guys my opinion here on what I think are some of the pairs that might not work for you guys. Right? You might think they work, but I don't think they can help you guys a lot on your setup. I would stay away from those. Anyway, guys, right, I just want to make a video here to tell you guys what I think about Honda. Oh, actually, I have another video I want to share you guys as well. Almost forgot here. Um, so I make a video here, right? I make a video here. So this one is where I do some tests with Honda and an XY, right? Just to show you guys the difference in terms of like how fast the guy can cast a skill here. So on my Honda, I have a max skill talent tree here, right? With feral nature, you can see here. Same talent tree on my XY as well. My XY also have a same talent tree with max skill talent tree here. And we're gonna see a test here in expeditions, so you guys get an idea of like what do I mean by a huge difference in terms of rage requirement between these two commander here. One commander's right, even though XY only deals 1700 skill damage, but he can cast that skill a lot more often than Honda here. So let's go and take a look here, right? So as you can see right here, right, my XY hit the target a little bit later as well, right? And I cast my first skill already, and I am going to cast another skill here, right? Honda casting the first skill here, XY casting the second skill. Honda is about casting the second skill here, and XY casting the third skill first before Honda's second skill here, right? So just to show you guys my points that I made earlier, that like Honda, even though right his skill damage can be very high, but because of the rage requirement, doesn't mean that he can have a higher DPS than my XY. Okay, so if you are looking for like a very high DPS commanders, I don't think Honda is the one you should be looking for, right? If you don't have a XY, if you haven't get XY yet, I would strongly recommend you guys to get XY. Okay, guys. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys find this video helpful, guys, and thanks for watching, boys. Peace out.